this is the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association. Today is April 17th, 2024, and it is 7:15. Thank you everybody for coming. Thank you everybody at home who didn't come. You missed something fantastic. Our restaurant person, Jane Kaplan, has prepared us with another fantastic meal from Home State. Maggie's a little shy. Come on. And I forget the catering manager's name. What is your name? Kirk?
Yeah.
Kirk, like Kaplan.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, what do you guys think about Home State? Let me just see by a show of hands, how many of you folks have been to the Home State here in Sherman Oaks before? That's good. That's great. How many of you guys have been to Home State other than the one here in Sherman Oaks? So Sherman Oaks folks like Sherman Oaks. And we're very, very happy you're here. You've been here 2 years now, almost?
Yeah.
3 years?
It'll be 2 years in July.
Okay. So this is Maggie. She's the general manager. Great presentation. Amazing food. It always is. Thank you so much. And this is Kirk, the catering manager, works out of the Highland Park, right? Highland Park?
Yep.
So I'm going to give the microphone to you because you've got a lot of stuff to say. You told me.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for having us. It was really a pleasure to serve you. Like Matt said, it'll be 2 years in July since we've opened our doors. It's the 5th Home State location in Los Angeles County. We have since opened 8 locations in total, one being in Oceanside. Brianna started this vision of just being homesick and wanting a taste of Texas in Los Angeles. So in 2013, she opened her Hollywood location and has since snowballed into 8 locations. And we really love to serve hospitality before we serve tacos. So we want you to feel like you're coming into our home. And we're most known for our queso and our breakfast tacos. So what we serve you here tonight is an extension of our catering program. And Kirk will tell you a little bit about that.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for having us today. What you just tried here is what we call event catering at Home State. We actually just launched it about a month ago, which is really exciting. Essentially, it's just that you can have us come wherever you're at in Los Angeles, and we'll come serve our food, bring staff. What you had was what we call our taco bar, which is one of the things that we're offering. We can also make tacos on site, which is really cool. We bring a grill and we make them right then and there. And we can also do pre-roll tacos for grab and go. So we have all sorts of different options. They're all great for birthday parties. We've done a couple bar mitzvahs already. We've done a wedding back last year, which was really cool. So yeah, and we can also do just regular pickup and drop off as well. So anything that you need, we got you. If you want some Home State tacos.
Thank you guys. And when you go to the Home State, just make sure you remember Maggie and just tell her a big thank you. You folks at home too. Thank you very much, guys. So, does anybody think that Jane's doing a good job at bringing restaurants in? Yes. Thank you, Jane. You're doing a great job. You had big shoes to fill. And Jules was going to be here tonight, but he had a little bit of an injury, so he's watching us at home. I know that. He's recovering very, very fast, and he will definitely be here next month. Speaking of next month, we have, it's May, so what do we do in May, you guys? What restaurant has been here so many times in May? Anybody? Casa Vega, Cinco de Mayo. So Christy will be here. She's got some great news, and she's got some great information, and she's got some amazing food. So that's our restaurant of the month next month. And again, thank you, Jane. Okay, Marty and Linda already left, but you guys, Marty and Linda, they're here every single meeting. They take all your money that you guys give us to keep these lights on here. So I always thank them, but I always want to thank them, but they always leave early because they want to and they can. So anyway, okay, do we have any, we have one elected here. Anybody else? We don't have an elected. We have you, Jane. We do not have a replacement for Ryan yet. Come on up. So we don't have a replacement for Ryan yet. Ryan left Nithia's office, as well as, I can't remember the other guy's name. What was his name? Josh. So they both kind of left abruptly last week. So we're waiting for updates on that, and maybe Lindsay knows. Let's find out from the neighborhood council. Lindsay knows all.
Yes, what I do know is that I had sent Ryan an email on a CD4 related thing. I got an immediate kickback, says I'm no longer with the office. I was like, what? And an hour later, I got an email announcing that Ryan is no longer with the office. So that's what I know. I know nothing. And I hope that that Nithya will continue to commit to coming to our SOHA board meeting in June, because Ryan was my contact for that. In any case, Lindsay Ember, I am the president of the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council. We meet in this room on the second Monday of every month. This month, we were going to have the concert in the park. It was a Beatles mashup, and we got rained out. So we're working on a replacement date. We, of course, have our summer movies in the park series, June, July, and August. And that's it for me. ShermanOaksNC.org is our website. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you ever go to the Kings hockey game and you hear that organ player, oh, the Ducks. Sorry.
I'm not in the playoffs.
Sorry. But anyway, if you go to a Ducks game, this is the organist that you hear. Yeah. Fun fact. As a matter of fact, that piano. Never mind. Come on up.
Hi, good evening. My name is Diane Rana. I'm a field rep for Assemblymember Laura Friedman. Right now, the legislature is in session, so if there's any bills that you read about, become aware of in the news, please feel free to call our office and express your opinion to the assembly member. We will convey your messages to her, I promise. I did want to mention to SOHA that this office has been working with Caltrans on the Van Nuys southbound on-ramp. That on-ramp's kind of unique in that the carpool lane's on the right-hand side instead of on the left-hand side. Sometimes we've had calls to the office that people who aren't familiar with the area cause problems. So Caltrans was out there on March 22nd adding additional diamonds to the HOV lane on the right and signage. So if you notice an improvement, I'd love to hear about it. Or if it's still horrible, please let me know about that too. And then I want to mention there's a flyer like this on the board back here. The office has partnered with Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council to do a car seat safety installation. So maybe you take your grandkids or your nieces and nephew places, but you're not sure if that car seat's in correctly. Make an appointment with our office. Come on out to Sherman Oaks Fashion Square. CHP will inspect your car seat, make sure it's up to date because they do expire, and also install it for you correctly so that your family members are safe when they ride in your car. But this service is by appointment only, so please call Assemblymember Friedman's office if you would like to do that on Thursday, April 28th. We're taking appointments between 8 and noon. And that's it for me today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Okay, where's my board? Where's the board? Come on up. Bob. You know, we keep going back and forth on this. Do I announce you? Do you guys come up? Do you say hello? Come on up. Okay, and then after that, we've got Jose is going to come up and give us a huge, long report on his time in Sherman Oaks. I'm just kidding. This is our Tom. Where's Glick? Come on, Glick. Hey, John. You guys aren't coming up, John?
Hi, I'm Bob Anderson. I'm head of the Transportation Committee, and I'm the one who fights with Metro a lot. And I'll keep you posted next month. Some interesting things are happening in about a week.
What Bob? That's Metro Bob.
I'm Maria Pavlik-Calban. I am the chair for the Legislative Committee, and I fight with the city about housing. So that's what I do all day.
All right.
Thank you. I'm Larry Slade, and I'm chairing the Homelessness Committee.
Hi, Tom Glick. Welcome everybody. I'm the land use chair.
Thank you. John Eisen.
Hi, John Eisen, treasurer of the association.
Thank you. And last but not least, Jay's got an announcement as well.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jay Weitzler, and I'm secretary of the organization as well as the liaison between the Buckley School and the Hillside Foundation. And I want to thank Sally Sakon, who's back there, Director of Communications at the Buckley School. Sally, and usually Lisa Turgeon, the CFO, is also here, but she couldn't make it. And I want to thank them for their interest. At the Hillside Federation meeting last night, we discussed something that some of you may be familiar with. It's technically called the Los Angeles Aerial Rapid Transit System. It might otherwise be known as the Frank McCourt boondoggle. You all remember Frank McCourt? They used to own the Dodgers, ran them into the ground very nicely. Well, in an effort to accentuate global warming, Mr. McCourt, who's likely to build a shopping center or an apartment building or something up in the parking lots at Dodger Stadium, that he retained after he sold the team for $18 billion or whatever it is. Being a very smart businessman, he kept the parking lot. He's proposed a gondola system that has been backed by Metro, interestingly enough, supposedly to be built with private funds from Union Station through Los Angeles Park up to Dodger Stadium. The theory is that this will reduce the traffic around Dodger Stadium by about 5,000 cars. I don't know about you, but, well, me and my wife, we very well might hop in our car, go up to the Orange Line, take the Orange Line downtown, switch to the subway in North Hollywood, and go down to Union Station and switch again to the gondola to come back in this direction to go to Dodger Stadium. That'll save us a lot of time. And so we're likely to do that just like the people from the other side. There have been no studies at all on this 350 to 500 million, a little bit of room to play with the figures in there, project proposed by the McCourt people. In the process of building this, they'll come as close as 25 or 30 feet above certain apartment buildings on the route from Union Station to the stadium. They're going to tear down a bunch of trees and cut some of the grasses in the Los Angeles Park and build these stanchions and gondolas. Now, I've been a skier most of my life, and I love gondolas. I'm not sure this is the one, though, in the heart of Los Angeles that we need, except for Mr. McCourt, who I believe, and this is only my humble opinion, I'm probably wrong, as I usually am, it will be a great way to connect downtown with his prospective project up at Dodger Stadium. Because the Dodgers only play 81, 82 games at Dodger Stadium, and there's a few events during the year. So the number of people taking this isn't on an enormous amount of days, and the only people who will pay are people not going to Dodger Stadium for an event. Because if you have a ticket for an event, you'll be free. And there's been no studies, none, on how many people will be paying, and these are tourists, of course, how many people will be paying for their own gondola ride. So God knows what it will wind up costing the city. I just wanted to point all these miserable facts out for you, just to alert you what might be coming, and if you have an opportunity to voice your opinion as to whether or not you support this project. So I thank you for your attention.
Terrific, thank you. I don't know what's worse, having a gondola go over your house or a 9-story apartment building being built next to you. This is the city of Los Angeles. Interesting. Okay, Jose. Mariana, we have our 2 senior leads who are not going to speak tonight because they have a special, really well-dressed detective here, but I'll let Jose do the introductions.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. I'm Officer Saldana. I'm the senior lead officer for the southern portion of Sherman Oaks. One of our major problems, everything on the south end, it's mostly the property crimes. We've been having a lot of burglaries, and our detectives has been filled out with at least 60 cases on his load. So I'll give you Officer Romo.
I'll make this short and fast. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mariana Romo, and I cover the northern part of Sherman Oaks, basically north of Ventura Boulevard. We're very, very lucky to have our burglary detective here today. So he will be speaking about the burglaries that are happening in the Sherman Oaks area.
Let's
going on, folks? My name is Ko Kim. I'm the burglary detective assigned to Van Nuys, serving your community. Just want to put my face out there, say hello, pass out my email information just in case you guys run into issues and you guys want to contact me. My email, to my work email, is the numbers 41359@lapd.online. God forbid, if something happens and you're involved, you'll most likely be talking to me. So just would rather put my information personally out there. The biggest things as far as that's affecting our community right now is the residential burglaries. We have seen a drop in the commercial burglaries that has plagued Van Nuys in the past. However, the residential burglaries has been going up and it's been spiking. So just as far as, speaking about general prevention tips, I think the most important thing is to network with your neighbors. I can't tell you how important that is. There's a little pocket of folks over at the Valley, Hart, and Sepulveda area that have been hit by numerous burglaries. I mean, you talk about it, I mean, every week they're getting hit. So it was so much so to the point where, these neighbors, they banded together. I would say probably 20, 30 homes, 20, 30 families have banded together, and they basically created a text thread so that if there's basically anybody except for the mailman on their street, they'll take pictures, they'll send, me that information. If it, goes to the level where I suggest that they call the police, and they will do so. So I think that's the biggest thing, is keeping that line of communication with your neighbors open, because, you could step away from your house for about 30 minutes, and in that time, that's all the time that they need to go in and out of your home. Typically, these residential burglaries are occurring in less than 5 minutes. So if you do have an alarm system, please arm it, regardless of how long you're going to be leaving your home. It's a service that you pay for. And if you don't have any sort of security camera footage, I would highly suggest you getting one. That's all I have.
What is your phone number again?
Yeah, my office number is going to be 818-374-0019, and I'm Detective Kim.
Your name again?
Detective Kim, K-I-M.
Detective Kim.
Kim, correct.
Thank you. Let's hear it for Los Angeles Police Department. Thank you, guys. We are so blessed to have these guys, this particular group of guys taking care of us, and gals, sorry. Larry is going to take over from here. He's got a great panel. It was promoted with just 2 other folks, but there's actually going to be 5 folks up here, a couple secret folks that he's brought on. So many people that I didn't even bring enough chairs, so Larry's going to have to be standing, unfortunately. I do want to tease you with 2 things, or 1 thing. Tease and then an ask. Next month is going to be, we're going to have a great speaker for you guys. We're going to have a great restaurant. It's going to be a great meeting. The month after that, our June meeting is not going to be here, okay? It's going to be at the Valley Relics Museum, which is fantastic. If you guys have not been there, it's not open on Wednesday nights. It's going to be the 3rd Wednesday, just as if we were going to be here. Tommy, the guy who's put this whole thing together, is a great guy. He's a good friend of mine, and he's opened it up to us, Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association. We're going to have a couple speakers that are going to be knock your shoes off. It's going to be really great speakers, and we're going to have some food as well. It's going to be the regular thing, 7:15 or 6:30 social, whatever we do here. The only difference is, and you guys have to remember this, please email or call us if you're going to come, because we have only a limited amount of people. So we want all of you guys and all you guys here, and we're going to be announcing it more in the next couple of weeks. It's 10 minutes away from here. It's over at Van Nuys Airport, and it's going to be a really, really fun night. So we look forward to it. And then my ask is, when you guys leave tonight, please use the trash cans and help us out so that we can get out of here a little bit quicker as far as when your guys are done. Larry Slade, everybody, he is running this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about. We've put together a great panel tonight of professionals from the federal, state, and local level to talk about how we can protect ourselves in this day and age when we're more at risk for being defrauded, manipulated, and scammed than ever before in history. My fascination with this subject started in New York City in 1980. I was a messenger And at the end of the work week, I got paid in cash, and I had a $100 crisp bill in my pocket. And I walked out of the office, it was on 55th Street and Fifth Avenue, and I came across guys on the corner with a box playing a game that I later found out was called 3-Card Monte, or 3-Card Charlie. And I grew up in New York City, so I was way too smart to be taken in by this. So I watched the game, and I watched where the red ball was. I watched it 3 or 4 times, and guess what? Each time I knew where the red ball was. And the last time I looked at it, and I said, it's on the left, it's on the left, to myself in my head. Some guy walked up, put down $20 or $50, and he won. And in that moment, I was convinced that I am a winner about to take place. And I was convinced by somebody who just walked up out of the blue, who I later found out knew the guy who was running the game. And I put my crisp $100 bill down, and guess what happened? I did not find the red ball, and that was my introduction to what it felt like to be defrauded, especially since I thought that I was a smart guy. Turns out I was not as smart as I thought, and that's why you see those games all over the street, everywhere around the world, because they work and they're popular. The industry of stealing from other people, not going in and robbing, but defrauding them, scamming them, manipulating them, separating themselves from their money, is a multi-billion-dollar annual industry, and it's getting larger. The ability to be able to extend the reach to scam people has been much more amplified by the internet and by electronic communications. Now, there was a time where you only needed to be street savvy if you were actually on the street. But now, every time you sit down at your computer, every time you pick up your smartphone, every time you answer the phone, you are subject to being victimized by someone who's trying to perpetrate a fraud on you. Now, especially, there's more information about all of us online than there ever has been. And the people that want to take advantage of you know more about us than they ever did. They know where we live. They know where we went to school. They know what our political affiliations or religious affiliations are. What organizations are we involved with? Who do we advocate for? It's usually on our Facebook page or our LinkedIn. People can find out more about us in seconds than they ever could before, and there are many, many people that are using it to manipulate us and steal from us. They have more ways to communicate with us than ever before. It can be via phone, email, text, direct mail, online, or the original, which was in person. And there's a lot of weapons that they use to scam us. Our brain chemistry actually works against us in letting people scam us. People know that if they ask us certain questions or provide certain stimuli, certain chemicals in our brain will be released and we'll think, yes, this is a good idea. They use fear and panic and pressure of time. They promise us rewards and they guarantee a sense of urgency. Something has to happen immediately. There's all kinds of vulnerable populations. Certainly older people are vulnerable to this type of thing. Seniors being manipulated and defrauded is one of the most common crimes that there is, and we have good guests to talk about that tonight. Younger people are also susceptible to this. So are people who are naive. And guess what? We're all naive. People who care about other people are susceptible. People who are trusting are susceptible. And people that are nice, good people, susceptible. Did I make any descriptions for anyone tonight where you're not in any of those categories? Now, we all fit into at least one or two of those categories. How many of you amongst us tonight have been the victim of a crime? Raise your hand. How many of us have been the victim of a scam or fraud? Not as many as I would have expected. Congratulations. They target people that own homes, that use computers, that are on social media, that have family or friends, that care about other people, that have money, that want to comply, and are accessible. They need to be able to reach you. I went online today and I looked for a glossary of terms and different kinds of scams that exist, and I just want to share a few of them with you to give you a sense of the dizzying volume of ways that people are trying to take advantage of us and steal from us. Artificial intelligence is now being used in a way that we never could have imagined to perpetrate fraud and scams, and we're going to talk about that on the panel. A brute force attack, catfishing, check washing, clickbait, cloning, cramming, crypto scam, ghosting, grandparent scam, hostage load, identity theft, keystroker, logger, mail theft, malware, money mule, peer-to-peer payment apps, farming, phishing, ransomware, robocalls, scareware, sensitive personal information, SIM swaps, smishing, spear phishing, spoofing, spyware, suspicious activity reports, synthetic identity, virus, voice cloning, and a worm. I don't know what most of those mean, but the people behind them that are perpetrating those frauds know what it means, and they know a lot about it, and they're professionals at targeting us. There are billions and billions of dollars spent every year to take billions and billions of dollars from us. It is more sophisticated and more detailed than it's ever been before in history. So that's an introduction to why this topic is important. And the people that are targeting us are very sophisticated. As a general rule, we are not sophisticated in defending ourselves. We just are not taught these skills. Nobody's talking to us about it except the people I'm about to invite up here tonight. So I'm going to call you up one at a time. I'm going to do a brief introduction for the members of the panel, and then I'm going to ask some questions. We're going to have a roundtable discussion, and then if there's time at the end, I'll be happy to take questions from the audience. We also have some pamphlets and manuals on the tables which provide some excellent information and real-world practical guides about how to stay safe. So I'd like to start by inviting Antonio Villasenor up. Where is she? Antonia? There she is, okay. She's a lifelong Angelino and a graduate from Occidental College. Since 2008, she's been working at the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, known as DFPI. Public affairs and education outreach specialist is what she does for a living. She speaks in English and Spanish to groups across Southern California about the DFPI's work and financial fraud prevention. Welcome, Antonio. Thank you. You can applaud. Thank you. I'd like to invite Detective Christy Adriano to come up. She's been assigned, she's been with the LA Police Department now for 22 years. She's currently assigned as a detective supervisor for the Commercial Crimes Division, Financial Section. For the past 7 years, she's been dedicating herself to investigating identity theft, elder financial abuse, grand theft, embezzlement, and forgery. She's considered an expert in investigating elder financial crimes. She has a passion for helping the elder community and believes it's an important component to help the community through education. Thank you. Thank you. Captain Alex Vargas. Captain Vargas was born and raised in LA and is the son of Mexican immigrants. He graduated from Cal State University, LA with a bachelor's degree and from USC with a master's degree. Captain Alex has been employed by the LAPD for over 30 years, and he currently holds the rank of Captain 3, assigned to the Van Nuys area as the commanding officer. Alex has prior commanding officer experience in Olympic and Central Patrol Divisions, specialized division assignments in Special Operations Division and the Communication Division. As an officer with LAPD, Alex has worked many different assignments, including serving in specialized units all over Los Angeles. Thank you, Captain. And this last gentleman I'd like to introduce, we had a great conversation yesterday. He got the newsletter in the mail and said, hey, this is right up my alley, can I come help? And we had a great discussion. David Brown, who's an attorney, a staff attorney with the Securities and Exchange Commission in the Division of Enforcement, where he investigates suspected violations of the federal securities laws and prosecutes the SEC civil actions in federal court and administrative proceedings. He began his career at the SEC in 2001 and has worked at the LA Regional Office, the Market Abuse Office, and currently in the Crypto Assets and Cyber Unit. At the SEC, Mr. Brown has investigated and prosecuted Ponzi schemes, offering and affinity frauds, insider trading, market manipulation, and many others. He works with domestic and foreign regulators and with criminal authorities in parallel investigations. He's a certified fraud examiner and a member of the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, and a licensed California notary, and member of the State Bar in California. David, thank you. Wow. So as you can see, we put together a panel of experts to try to address these issues. Yeah. I sit too much during the day anyway. Okay. So let's jump into some panel questions. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a series of questions, and feel free to, if you think that this is up your alley, this topic is relevant to you, we can go one at a time, take our turns, grab the microphone. try to keep your answers as succinct as possible, unlike what I'm doing at the moment, and we can move through a bunch of questions. So let me start by asking, what are the most common types of fraud schemes targeting individuals, and how do they typically operate? Who'd like to jump up first? I just read a bunch of different fraud schemes in the list, but give us some common examples and how they operate. Yeah, please.
Hello, sorry. I'm Christy again. So the common fraud schemes that I see on a regular basis within the community, especially here in Van Nuys, is identity theft, forgery, and since I investigate elder financial abuse, those are the typical things that I see. So when we talk about identity theft, one of the things I want to tell you guys is to secure your credit cards and stuff like that. Never use your debit card. I know like people have it and they use it at the gas station. Don't do that. Use a credit card. And do you know why? It's because your debit card comes from your own money and it's harder to replace. Credit cards, it's Amex, it's Capital One, that's their money. And typically if you report it on a timely manner, you get your money back. Don't let people, get your information at the gas station, those type of things.
Well, speaking about credit, do you recommend that people freeze their credit?
100%. That's the other thing, is monitor your credit. What I do is, technology these days, I have an app for Experian, and I pay for it because I think it's worth it since this is the, line of work that I do. I see all types of fraud. Get some type of monitoring system. And the way it works is like if I go buy a car right now over there at the BMW dealership and they run my credit, well, first of all, they won't be able to because on my app has frozen my social security number, so they can't run my credit. But let's say I forgot to freeze it, I will get notification right away. So that is a very important thing.
So two different things. One is monitoring your credit so that you get a notification if there's been a change to your credit or someone's tried to use your credit to apply for something, someone's taken a loan in your name or applied for a credit card. And then the second thing you're talking about is freezing your credit. Thank you.
Your social security number.
Yeah. Well, you freeze your social security number or do you contact the credit agencies and freeze your credit and the agencies will vote?
Well, for me, I use the Experian app. And since that's one of the 3 credit bureaus, so sometimes we were like, oh, I have this other third-party, thing. I recommend go directly to the people that,
People are happy to charge you for things you could do for free.
I'm sorry?
People are happy to charge you for things you can do for free,
Yeah,
like what you just said.
Yeah.
You can do it yourself for free. And there's actually a third tip, page 51, because I want you to remember this. Use your pens. The third thing is to check your credit report. Now, here on page 51, while this was in draft form, your credit reports were available every 12 months. Since this book isn't printed, now they're available every 7 days. And it's a soft hit. Because the next question I get is, does that affect my credit? No, it doesn't. It won't affect your score. When a consumer has a right now to check their own credit reports, and then I get stories from a lot of consumers, I don't know if you do, that tell me, I didn't know people in Montana were buying motorcycles until I saw my credit report. Because they weren't using their direct accounts. So it's a very good reason to use your credit report. And then on the next page are the phone numbers for Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, where you can call them, or I actually went online to each one to freeze my credit. I was recently notified. Now, you could be a perfect consumer, and a company you're using gets hacked. We hear about this on a regular basis. And I recently was notified that a company that I have business with that has my information has been hacked. So I turned around and I froze my credit. I went online with Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax one by one. And it was really easy. I did it within a few minutes, and I froze my credit. They don't even want a PIN number anymore. If I want to unfreeze it, I go back online, save my passcodes, unfreeze it. The alert is also useful because you can be alerted if someone tries to open an account, or if an account, if somebody submits your social security for a credit application.
No, Larry, if I could just add, you were asking about the type of frauds that are out there. I just wanted to name a few more. Sure. So I know that when he asked the question about how many people have been victims of fraud, very few people raise their hand. And yeah, okay. Thank you, Louis, for being honest. But I think it's more prevalent than people are actually willing to admit. Last year's number, there were 2.6 million people that were victims of fraud. It's about $10 billion business a year. It's probably the largest crime in the nation, and that's only people that report it. A lot of people do not report because of the embarrassment of being a victim of fraud. But another type of fraud that's out there is investment fraud. Cryptocurrency is really big on that. So people that will contact you on social media and ask you if you want to invest in cryptocurrency, and that's a lot of people become victims of fraud because of that. Also, the fake romance. You know, you meet somebody online and they say they fall in love with you after about 5 minutes of meeting you. Or you have a family member in another part of the world and stuff that needs some money, and my dad was a victim of that. Luckily, he admitted, or he was, smart enough to tell us about it and stuff. So it was only a few money, not that much money that was taken. Also, the inheritance scam. You know, you had an uncle who's the prince also of Ghana who you didn't know, and he has the money for you, and you just need to pay the taxes on it and stuff, and you send the money, and you never get your inheritance. That's pretty common, and believe it or not, it sounds silly. I get those emails every so often, but people do reply and do send money, and it happens quite a bit. And then we at the police department, we have people come in and say that they're victims of, of fraud, and you see some of the things that you would think you'd never fall for it, and they do. There are people that just are very trusting, and I think, like Larry said, most of the victims are older Americans because they have their retirement accounts, they have money available, and these criminals know it, and they're trying to get that money, the life savings that people are available to be able to spend or invest in these cryptocurrencies.
The two central themes that are come out of this discussion is, one is the word monitor, and the other is the word freeze. We talked about freezing the credits. How many people in this room have ever physically balanced a checkbook in your life? How many of you have balanced a checkbook since the year 2000? Really? How about in the last 5 years, how many of you have balanced a checkbook? Wow, I didn't expect to see that. I don't balance my checkbook. I log in and I check it. My point is that we're not monitoring our finances, our bank accounts, our credit card statements as closely as we would have if, well, some of us don't balance their checkbooks. David and I had a conversation the other day. We were talking about artificial intelligence on the specific topic, and he told me a story that I want him to share with you, because even though I thought that I understood the depth of how dangerous it is, he brought it to a new level.
Well, first of all, as one of the other government employees here, I am forced to give a disclaimer that I'm here in my own personal capacity, and I'm not speaking for my employer, the Securities and Exchange Commission, or the chairman, or the commissioners, or anybody else. Now that I've said that, I can speak freely. I took a training that was offered for people in the financial services industry, law enforcement, regulators, and banks and brokerages. And the topic was how artificial intelligence is going to be used against us. And this trainer started with having his own cell phone in one hand and his wife's cell phone in the other hand. And he said, I'm going to, and this was a live training, I'm going to download an app on my cell phone that will mask my identity. I'm going to call my wife's cell phone and make it look like her mother was calling her. In the comments, everybody said, okay, that's bad. That is spoofing, which is one of the things I think that was on Larry's list. Then he said, I'm going to download an app, he told us which one it was, that will mask my voice. And he picked the voice of Robert Downey Jr., the actor. And in real time, his voice changed from his own to the voice of Robert Downey Jr. Then he said, I'm going to show you another app. He told us what it was that he downloaded. And with an image of Robert Downey Jr. live on video, he became Robert Downey Jr. So then, he is talking like Robert Downey Jr., looks like Robert Downey Jr., and then could make a phone call from his phone to anybody else, making it look like he is Robert Downey Jr. This is the next phase of artificial intelligence. Any of us who have an image that is available, say online right now, and our voice, it can be copied. And if they know enough about you, they have a phone number or anything else, they can try to impersonate any of us in calling banks or brokerages.
Thank you. So, a frightening story. Okay, while we're on the topic, how can individuals recognize, and I'll open this up to the panel, I'd like to start with you, David. How can individuals recognize and avoid fraudulent investment schemes and other financial schemes?
The main way for individuals to avoid being victimized through an investment fraud is asking 3 questions of anyone who pitches an investment to you. Question number 1 is, are you licensed to sell the securities that you are selling? If the answer is no, run. And then call one of us. All brokers and investment advisors have to be either registered or licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, or state securities regulators, or both. Now, there's a lot of folks out there that'll say, I'm an investment expert. I do estate planning. I do financial planning. I'm an accountant. I'm an insurance salesman. All of that might be true, but they have to be licensed to sell you the investment that they're selling. Second question, is the investment registered or is it exempt from registration? The securities laws require registration of an investment. If an investment is not registered, run. Because with registration comes requirements by law that the person who is promoting the investment has to give the investor, the prospective investor, written disclosures about what the nature of the investment is and how that investment is going to make money and how the person who is promoting the investment is going to get paid. Without a disclosure document, you are simply relying on the information that the promoter is giving you. They create the reality that they want you to believe. No registration, no deal. Third question. Remember what the third question is. Let me check my notes. Even I gotta check notes sometimes. And I prepare for this. I want to make sure. Question number 3. I should have known this right off the top of my head. Do you understand the investment? And how the investment is supposed to make you money? That was the easiest one of all, and I couldn't remember that. People ask me, Dave, should I invest in crypto? And then I ask them, do you understand what crypto is and how it makes money? And they usually say, no, I don't. Then crypto's not for you. If you don't understand and cannot explain the investment and how it is supposed to make you money, run. And then call one of us. Because if you don't understand it, you are more susceptible to listening to the misrepresentations, the misleading statements that the promoter of the investment is going to give you. And without a disclosure document, that was question number 2, you're totally at their mercy. You can check with both the state and at the federal level whether somebody is registered, whether the investment is registered, whether they have disciplinary history, and you can verify exactly what they're talking about the investment. We're not going to tell you whether it's a good or bad investment, but at least know who you're dealing with and how you're supposed to make money out of it.
When I first started this position, I talked to one of our attorneys, and they said to me, if people had asked the question, are you licensed? We would not have over 90% of our cases at one question. Are you licensed? So you'll see on page 67 and 68, we created a little questionnaire because people came to us and said, we don't know what to ask. And then pages before that, you'll have the phone numbers, the contact information for the different departments. Attorneys, accountants, legal services. And I heard this at a scam where a consumer said, so, what's your license number? Oh, I don't have it, but my colleague Esther, she'll be here in half an hour and she'll bring our license number with us. That's the moment at which you run out the room. Esther never showed up.
So this is great advice. And as David said, he had 2 pieces of advice. When you hear this, run, and then call one of us. And I want to take a second to talk about the concept of calling one of us. This panel is a nightmare for scammers. They would not want you to call any one of us to ask questions about it. It kind of raises the reality that the way scammers succeed very often is that they isolate you and they ask you to make decisions all by yourself. And sometimes they even tell you, don't tell anyone else. Don't discuss it. You can't. That should be not only a huge red flag, but if it's a real opportunity and it's a good opportunity, it will survive the scrutiny applied to it by somebody who's helping you. This is my way of saying, when you get a deal that's too good to be true, not only is it too good to be true, but ask for help. Because the scammer wants you to think about what they want you to think about in isolation. And the more people you're discussing this with, and one of the things you can do is, you know what? I can't make a decision right now. I want to call my nephew. I want to call my brother. He's an attorney. I want to put them on the phone. He's a police officer. She's a detective. They'll hang up the phone pretty quickly. So don't be in isolation. Don't let people use fear to keep you alone. And I used an example of the type of people that are targeted earlier, and I said nice people. Nice people are targeted. You know why nice people are targeted? Because they're too nice to doubt that someone's trying to steal from them. So it's not a good idea to go out into the world to be a trusting soul, because the world's filled with people who want to take advantage of you just because you're trusting.
And if I may, Larry, one of the brochures that the SEC has that I brought with me, and this is available on investor.gov along with all of our other information, is Stopping Affinity Fraud in Your Community. Affinity frauds use the ability to relate to their members. So think of an organization, a group, a class, or whatever it is that you belong to, whether it's a church, a synagogue, a religious group, an ethnic group, a club, where professional group, there's military, law enforcement, veterans. There are frauds that proliferate among groups because we tend to be more trusting of people with whom we share some affinity. And unfortunately, fraudsters lurk there.
Perfect transition to Captain Vargas. I can see you ready to jump in.
No, we were both. I mean, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say that a lot of these frauds are people pressuring you to make decisions right then and then. And I think the key thing is to take your time. Like I said, ask someone who may know, someone from the ACC, police officers, about any issues that are brought up to you for any kind of investment or any kind of a scam. And you actually took the words out of my mouth.
I do have a specific question for you, Captain. Can you talk for a little bit, based on your experience in the LAPD, specifically in Van Nuys, what types of scams are most common in our local community? Who's targeted most often, and what happens?
What I've seen lately has been, and actually more like towards the holidays, or the fake romance and then family scams, where somebody goes over and meets somebody online, and this is mostly targeting for older female victims, where they meet somebody online and they fall in love, and someone's asking them for money because they're going to get married and they're going to buy an apartment, and then people start sending money. Unfortunately, a lot of the times when victims are embarrassed to report that, and when they do finally report is when all their savings is gone and there's no money there, and they're getting pressured now to take out loans or use their credit card and stuff. That's why it's reported when hundreds of thousands of dollars have already been spent. And I see that quite a bit, especially during the holiday season. Also, you have what I talked about earlier, the lotto. I won the lotto. I don't have any legal standing in the U.S. and then, you give me the money or the deposit and I'll give you, and we'll split the earnings. We see that a lot as well. And then, like I mentioned earlier, the inheritance, where somebody has passed away and you just need to pay the taxes according to this amount of money to this group, and then you'll get the money back. And what we've also seen lately has been people, and this is actually somebody that I know that this happened to, where they got called and said, this is the police, you have a warrant for your arrest, you need to pay $5,000, send it to this amount, and we will terminate the arrest warrant. The police don't do that. We don't send and tell people to go over on the phone and send a certain amount of money so the warrant goes away. That does not happen. And what worries me is this is a friend who actually paid an amount, and I think to myself, what were you worried about? That you think you have a warrant for your arrest? It's a bigger question. But yeah, they were scammed for about $5,000. And that is pretty common, and that is a report that I've seen a few times lately in Van Nuys.
I think one of the other things that we're seeing in the community of Van Nuys is mail theft. Traditionally we have our little mailbox and it's unlocked. I mean, at night someone's going through there and going through all that mailboxes, and what they're looking for are checks. I don't know, has anybody ever been a victim of their checks being washed or anything like that? That is a very common thing, especially right now with tax season. A lot of people put their tax money in that blue box, and so what they're doing is they're putting some sticky paper and pulling them out and then trying to wash them and put them in their accounts, and you guys aren't going to know because you think you paid your taxes, but no, you're paying somebody else and you're not going to know. So just be wary about that. It's to protect your mail, because also your mail has your identity, your name, your address. We tell people, get a P.O. box if you're in an area where you can't lock the mailbox. Check your mail every single day. As soon as the mailman comes, if you can, check your mail. And the other thing is, I know like for the older generations, checks are like a common thing. Unfortunately, we have to transition ourselves. It is safer to pay things online now. It's more dangerous to, put your checks out into the mailbox because of mail theft. That's just the reality of it all.
And if you still have checks and you use checks, make sure they're stored in a secure place. Because if your checks are loose somewhere and somebody steals them from you and uses them, the bank is going to try to get out of paying you back by claiming that you were negligent with where you stored your checks. So just be very careful. And the banks are not scrutinizing the checks, who it's written to, whether there's interlineations, who signed it. They're not comparing the signatures. Nobody even really knows. Yes, ma'am.
So our local post offices don't care about what you just said. The sticky blue boxes, they don't care. We have that issue often in Sherman Oaks and Studio City, and you call them, you go in there, they don't care. But they have their guys go every day to the boxes to take mail out. How difficult would it be for them just to check that? And there's a disconnect with the post office, and
100%. I mean, right now, Magnolia, maybe you may be talking about that, one on Magnolia and Kester. I'm getting so many police reports because I review all police reports that come in, and I'm seeing it. And I actually put a phone call out to the Postal Service. I'm like, hey, so what are we going to do? I mean, I think we need to put cameras up. We need to be proactive to try and figure it out. It's difficult because, we're talking about manpower too, and I think there's only like 2 postal inspectors in Sherman Oaks area trying to handle all of it. But we are trying to, figure it out a way and come up with a plan now.
I just want to say that I received an email from the Sherman Oaks post office. Did you all get that email too? That said, do not use those mailboxes. And the question is, then why are they there? If the post office is telling you, don't use them, come in to the actual post office, why are they leaving them there?
Got it. Go ahead.
I'd like to one-up those 2 comments for just a moment. I mailed my tax return out of the Sherman Oaks post office on Moore Park on Friday. I was shocked when I went to put the mail in. Their mailbox was extremely sticky. And I made a special effort, and I hope I was successful in avoiding that. Both mailboxes that are on Moore Park or Magnolia?
Wherever. That's what we're talking about.
They were both, I'm talking really sticky. So my question is, could you be proactive? Is it possible for you to call the post office, who apparently doesn't even care that their own mailboxes are sticky, to alert them to that possibility?
100%. I mean, that is the phone call that I made actually today to the post.
Been there Friday morning.
I know, right? I know. But we are putting forth the effort, coming up with a plan as we speak, working together with the Postal Service.
I'd also encourage people to do informed delivery, which is where you sign up with the post office and you get an email with pictures of all of the mail that's supposed to be delivered to you that day. Because the mail trucks in our neighborhood have been broken into and all of the mail has been taken, and because I had informed delivery, I was able to contact the companies who sent bills. It's a real easy thing to do. Sign up for informed delivery.
Thank you, Neil. So let's talk for a second about state of fraud that we talked about a little bit before, but I want to put it into context, and I want to see if we can give people specific techniques to try to prevent this. You're sitting at home, your phone rings, you pick it up, and it's the voice of your granddaughter in a panicked state, who's basically saying that she's in a really bad situation. She could be in another country, she was arrested, she needs bail money, she needs any number of things. What is that called, and what do we do in that situation?
Hopefully, ahead of time, if you set up a keyword, a code word with your family member, say, honey, what's your password? And it could be pink flamingos, right? But the fraudster won't know it.
Don't use pink flamingos, I'm using that right now.
Okay.
I use that too.
I like purple zebras myself. The other thing is, hang up the phone, call that person, call that relative directly. They'll give you all kinds of reasons why you shouldn't or can't. Call them directly. Even if it's 2 a.m. I hear a lot, I don't know when it happens. It happens in the middle of the night because then we're less logical. We're usually asleep on a good day. Call them directly. You'll probably wake them up. This is the good news.
You know, what's interesting about this, it's a very, very simple concept to have a safe word or a password with your family. We used to have it when my kids were little, when we would send someone to pick them up on the schoolyard, that, oh, this is mom's friend picking you up, what's the safe word? And we still use the same word in this context now. And what's interesting about it is that it's a very, very simple thing to do, which will completely thwart this type of fraud. And most frauds that people perpetrate on you are similar. At any point in time, you can get off the ride. And when you get off the ride by saying, I can't do it right now, I need to check with someone else, can I have your phone number? Are you licensed? Is this registered? You have to start asking questions. And that's something that really helps scare a lot of these people away. We've been talking about frauds and scams in the context of people applying immediate pressure on you to do something right away. That's very, very common, but there are also scams that are much longer plays. People will interact with you over a period of time. I have a very close friend who is into crypto investing. He got a message on his Facebook page from a friend of his who he knew was an investment banker. And he said, I've got this great deal, like this new crypto guys, the return is incredible, why don't you start by investing? And my buddy was going back and forth with him. He invested, after a period of time, $1 million into this crypto account. He wasn't blind because he had a login with a website that they set up for him for the coins that he was holding. They showed it going up. They had a sophisticated algorithm to calculate his return on investment. And he called me one day completely in tears, realizing that he had questions about the performance of the crypto, and he finally called the guy from Facebook. And when the guy said to him, I don't know what you're talking about, I'm telling you that he almost died in that moment. And so they're very sophisticated, they're longer term plays. That's what the romance play is about. That doesn't happen in a couple of minutes. It's working out over time. So keep your guard up. We've talked about verify a couple of times. You've heard the expression in international relations, trust and verify. Now this is just verify and verify. There's no need to trust. Just no need to trust, yes.
I wanted to add, one of the ways they tell you to give them money is either buy a gift card and give them back the number, or go to a Bitcoin ATM and put money in there. So, I mean, you got to think about it. There's a little bit of time to think about it. I mean, there's no rush. And hopefully you have family members that you can, bounce these ideas out that you think that you're doing the right thing, and convince you that that's not the right thing. So it's a big red flag if you're going to Target and you're getting gift cards, or you know anybody going to Target. But it sounds crazy, but these are the reports, and these are the people that we talk to on the phone on a daily basis as investigators.
Anyone else want to jump in on that? Okay. Can any of you share success stories or examples of individuals who were able to prevent fraud or to recover from being victims of fraud through proactive measures? Any instances where people ferreted out the fraud before they were a victim and then reported? Not that many of those.
Well, we don't really hear about it, right? Because as police officers, we hear all the negative. But, for me, I do a lot of the elder financials, and I feel like educating people helps. And one day you're going to come across with some scenario, and then hopefully you're going to remember Christy, just be aware. I think that's really important. And then the family ties, as far as elder financial abuse, I think it really helps when there's family around and you're around your family, so they can, or friends that can really keep an eye out, on you, and somebody that you can bounce ideas off. I think that's really important, is that network of people, basically like this. This is a network of people that you can be like, hey, there's this thing going on, and hopefully you guys help each other out. I think that right there is very powerful.
I think that, I know we made in Van Nuys an arrest of an individual, and it's not really a success story because the suspect took over $100,000. We actually got him when they met up, and they were going to hand him over another $40,000, but the first 60 were gone. And the suspect, he lives in New York. We tried to get him back, extradite him, and because of the type of crime, we weren't successful yet. So it's difficult to talk about success stories because many times the money is not, and because it's not a violent crime, here in California, it's not really penalized. That's a very stuff. So it's difficult to come up with a success story because it's very rarely, it's difficult to get people's money back.
So I was at a senior meeting once, and there was a couple in the group at fraud prevention, and he was annoyed. He was still kind of ticked at his wife because she didn't let him give away his identity to some fraudster because he wanted that free iPad. And he was still annoyed with her. And he said, tell her I should have gotten it. I said, you need to turn around and thank her because what did they want from you? And he described, and it was his identity. It was identity. So, listening to someone, having someone around who can help, work through the mud that they throw at us. On a larger scale, I'd like you to know about SB 278. I just heard about it, State Bill 278. It's for elder abuse. I just heard today that it is not dead. And the purpose of it is to get banks to not to turn their heads in obvious situations of elder financial abuse. So it'll happen where an elder will go to a bank and withdraw an inordinate amount of money or an unusual amount of money, and there'll be a relative or a caregiver. Unfortunately, it's often someone they know. They're assisting them with that transaction. And it'll be, quite frankly, obvious that it's, they're nervous or they're upset. Anyway, check on SB 278, and if you want to support it, I'm sure your legislators will be interested in your support. We do hear about people who, I do get people telling me on a regular basis, I go to a lot of events, that they just hung up on scammers, or they curse them out, or they waste their time on the phone with them. But don't do that anymore, because again, they can record your voice. I remember people telling me, oh, I wasted their time for an hour. Better with me than scamming somebody. But that's an hour they could have been recording your voice.
Thank you. I asked everybody earlier, 1 second, I asked everybody earlier, how many, by a show of hands, how many of you have been the victim of fraud or a scam? And some of you raised your hand. And I'm willing to bet that in some ways, all of us can raise our hands, but we just may not even know. Not every time you're scammed or defrauded, you're able to even pick it up or decipher it. So sometimes we're just not aware. And I have a couple more topics I want to bring up, but I also want to talk about this one. As an ex-prosecutor, my experience is that as a general rule, law enforcement is challenged in prosecuting economic and financial crimes. They're much more complicated than your typical misdemeanor or felony. The police department, the prosecutor's offices are way underfinanced. There's a tendency to focus more on violent crime because that's more of a hot button issue. And this is my way of saying, and I'm going to ask for confirmation, that as a general rule, if you are defrauded out of your money, it is difficult, if not impossible, to get help from law enforcement to investigate and to try to collect it and enforcement because they just don't have the resources. So in a very real way, when it comes to these types of things, you're really out there on your own. And an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Those are 2 points I want to make. I want to change the subject now, and David, I want to ask you about pyramid and Ponzi schemes and what they are and how common they are and how you can ferret them out.
Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes are alive and well. A Ponzi scheme is a scheme whereby new investor money is raised to pay promised returns to older investors, prior investors. The scheme has to keep going by bringing in more people in order to start paying everybody that's ahead of you in line. Usually those types of schemes involve something glossing over it, like give us your money, we'll invest it in real estate, we will invest it in the stock market, we will do something with it that generates a return that is enough to pay all the promised returns to other investors, when in actuality, the only economic activity is raising money from other victims and paying the prior victims, the prior investors, with new investor money. That's a Ponzi scheme. And it can take all kinds of different forms. It's like wine going into a bottle. It could always, it's whatever the flavor of the day is, it's old wine in a new bottle. Lately it's crypto. Give us your money to trade crypto. We're going to make a lot of money from trading crypto and pay you a return, but really it's just raising money from newer investors and paying prior investors. Pyramid schemes are slightly different in that in order to keep bringing in more investors, you start compensating the people that are bringing in more investors. So you get a referral with more money, a higher return if you bring in 5 people, 10 people, 20 people.
Can multi-level or network marketing companies be Ponzi schemes?
Yes. By not engaging in any real economic activity, all they're really doing is just raising money from newer investors and paying prior investors the promised return. Now, they may not be securities related. They could be, any kind of other fraud that a different agency would have jurisdiction for. But at essence, pyramid schemes and Ponzi schemes are just taking in money and paying it to other people ahead of you in line.
In the network marketing context, the multi-level marketing, how many people have ever been involved with an MLM, multi-level marketing or network marketing? I am surprised by these answers. I expected to see more hands. It's very, very common, and a multi-level marketing company can be perfectly legitimate if their main function is to sell the product. But very often their main function is to recruit distributors and then to encourage them to buy large quantities of product that they store in their garage, because the more they buy, the greater discount that they get. So it kind of falls in line with this too good to be true type thing. I remember vividly my second year of law school, I got a call from my cousin, and she said, I've got this great investment for you. What is it? All you have to do is put in $1,000 and get 10 other people to put in $1,000, and you'll get $10,000. And I said, well, what are we selling? She goes, Nothing, just the investment. Well, how can it be an investment if you're not buying anything? And then we started to play it out over the phone, and we realized that at some point it has to collapse. And when it collapses, the people who get in at the end are the ones left holding the bag. So in network marketing companies, you're always hearing these stories about so-and-so's making $10,000 a week. Yes, they are. It's because they're at the top, and everybody else is in their downline is feeding them up. And unless you get in on the ground floor or near the ground floor at the beginning, it's not going to be profitable. There are legitimate multi-level marketing companies for sure, but most of them don't fit that description. Anything you want to add? Anyone want to talk about network marketing companies or Ponzi schemes or pyramid schemes? Okay. Let's take some questions from the audience. Yes, in the back.
When I first retired, I was still a victim of working for a large corporation. So when I went on vacation, I put an out of office on my email, not realizing that's like telling everyone you're out of town. At least 4 people went to get money out of the bank to pay to get me out of jail. But the worst part was I was in Cuba, and our cell phones do not work in Cuba. So getting a hold of me was quite difficult. My daughter finally got me through someone else, and we were able to stop anyone else from taking money out of their account. But these people actually believed that I was being held. They knew I was out of town, but I don't know that people still put out of offices on their email. But I just am throwing that out there that it can be a catastrophe.
Yeah, similar to that is when people post pictures on their vacations on Facebook. Here we are in Greece yesterday. Well, I don't think you're back yet. So that's a way of saying, come rob me. Other questions from the audience? Yes, sir.
2 questions. Number one is going back to all the telephone calls that we're getting. I'm sure everybody's getting tons of them every day. There was a telephone call that the first thing you hear is, "Hi, can you hear me all right?" If you answer yes, you're in trouble because they record your voice saying yes, and they attach it to any other statement where you agree to buy something because you just said yes. Don't ever say yes. When you hear a call like this, say no and hang up. That's one thing. If you don't see a number, or if you see a number that you don't recognize, do not answer them. So my first question is, what do we do in order to combat all these telephone calls that come in and you pretty much spend the time hanging up. That's my first question. Go ahead.
There's a feature on your phone where if you just put in all your contacts and just change the features that you aren't accepting calls from your contact list, and any other calls that are blocked or scam will not go to your phone, only your contacts. You can do that feature as well on your phone.
Right, so every call that I get, I block it. So, that number can never call me again. But there are tons of them. So,
one of the things that Larry mentioned in the very beginning is that fraudsters count on prospective victims complying with their requests or their demands.
Right.
The first step in non-compliance is not answering the phone, not responding to the text message, the email, the instant message, the Facebook friend request. You don't have to respond. You don't have to answer. You can just say no. Call blocking, text blocking, email blocking of anybody that is not in your contact list. Puts a layer of protection between you and a scammer.
Yeah, so
You can also do what my kids do, which is they just don't answer the phone.
Yeah,
that's for you.
Yeah, that's the thing. So you don't answer the phone and then you block that call and this call cannot come.
Second question.
I have another question. You probably heard about the fraud where people who paid off their mortgages. So now they have the property free and clear. All of a sudden, they get a letter from a bank that they are late on their mortgage and they are going to face a foreclosure. And what happens is people who commit frauds, they check those properties, they don't have mortgages, they forge a transfer deed document, they forge your signature somehow, in front of a notary public, which is one of their guys. They record that deed, and now your house belongs to them. And immediately they go out and take a loan on that house. Okay, so one thing to do is to inform and put a notice in the county recorder's office is that they inform you every time something is recorded against your property, you immediately get a notice. But this is after the fact. It's already been recorded. What do you do, if you have any idea, to prevent that from happening?
So Commercial Crimes Division has a real estate unit, and exactly what you just said is what they investigate. And what the investigators there recommend is that you don't, I mean, this sounds weird, don't pay off your house completely. Like have either a HELOC or a very small amount of loan, because a person will have to go through a few hoops in order for a deed to move to another person. And again, yes, you're correct, which is have that notification, but yeah, I mean, you're not gonna know until it happens. So my recommendation is don't pay your house off, have a $1,000 loan and pay $1 every month, however you wanna do it. But it does make it more difficult, because remember, your deed is like a pink slip, right? Is that crazy that your deed is like a pink slip? I literally can, if I own my house, which I don't, it's way expensive. I can literally give my house to him just by signing it. Is that crazy? So that's my recommendation. Don't pay your house.
Okay. Oh, you can record a note and a huge fake loan on your property.
If that happens, Steve, once it happens, you have a significant problem.
Right.
You have to get proactive, you have to hire a lawyer and file a lawsuit.
Thank you very
much. The LA County tax assessor just created a new program, the fraud alert program.
Yes.
So you can go. I actually sent this form from my title rep, and you can just register multiple properties if you have multiple properties, or you're a single property. And anytime that there's a quit claim, a transfer of title, a mortgage deed request, any of these types of things, you are alerted.
You are alerted.
So by the time they transfer the property and then they go to apply for a loan, you'll have plenty of time to unravel that. So I can share this with you guys if you share.
Hey Larry, I know we don't have a lot of time left, but I do want to add, since I'm the investigator for elder financial abuse, one of the things I want you guys to do is, it's weird because we don't talk about death or anything. Like I'm Filipino, and so sometimes it's like a cultural thing, like where people don't talk about like, what is the will and trust going to say, that kind of thing. Not that my parents have any money, they don't, but but have a communicate with your family members, because this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing caretakers at the end of my elder victim's life, and literally they convince them at the end to give them everything. So, and sometimes it happens to very older people, like, I'm seeing this like the older, like 90, 80, and maybe they don't have family, or their kids have already passed before them. And so now, there's really no one monitoring them. So have your trust and will done. Communicate with your family. And this is another thing that I've done, is I PDF'd my trust and will to my sister, who's my executor. So she has the copy, and then of course there's an original, but there won't be, it'll be time-stamped. I don't know if you ever thought of this, but it'll be time-stamped, so there can't be any changes. Like, no one can white out. Because you think about a trust and will, and you look at the paper, and you're like, it's so easy to just white something out, or just change it somehow. And believe you me, this is the stuff that I investigate, okay? Weird changes to wills and trusts, that kind of thing. So, before I leave today, I want you to guys really think about that, the will and trust thing. Talk it over with your family, and make sure you have one. I mean, there's so many people that don't.
Quite true. Yes, Matt. Then we're going to, one more question and we'll wrap it up.
So I have a credit freeze on all 3 credit bureaus. All of our mail goes to a PO box. Our mailbox at home gets junk mail and birthday cards and stuff like that. About a year and a half ago, we hosted a Ukrainian family. We helped them get situated here in the United States, and they used our mailbox. For the last 6 months, every month we get just a bunch of mail from a new person, Sally Witherspoon. And we'll get it from all these different government agencies. And we contact the government agencies and they say, we don't know what to do on this. But it's every month, it's a new set, it's social services, it's all these different types of things. What's the scam there? Why are they using our box, our
I imagine they're asking you to respond in some way with some information.
Nope, it's not even addressed to me, I can't open it. It's addressed to somebody else. It's the mail, it's going to Larry Slade at my house.
Without looking at it, I can't tell you. But I can say that we're talking about money a lot here, but there's other things of value. Your name, your phone number, your birthday, your driver's license, your social security number, your credit card numbers. There are lots of things of yours. I am on social media. Years ago when I went onto one, they wanted my birthday. I'm thinking, it's none of your business. And I put a fake birthday on there and I get a whole bunch of happy birthday wishes a couple weeks before my real birthday. My real people know my real birthday and that's enough for me. Your birthday because they can cobble together your information and get enough information to steal your identity. Your information has value.
Your information is available on the dark web and also on the above the dark web. Have any of you Googled yourself lately? Are you shocked by the amount of information about you that's available? Data brokers. Your information is valuable. It is the new oil. You can combat data brokers by hiring services, subscribing to a service that deletes you from these data brokers. It costs money, but it's worth it. There's also a feature if you have a Gmail account where you can do it with Gmail for free, and I can show you how to do it. I have done all of these things, and I have a very common name, but I have scrubbed myself from the internet. You have to work really hard to find me, and I have 2 licenses from the state of California and own property in the state of California.
That's true. I searched them just yesterday. It was hard to find.
There's still information out there, though, because some stuff you cannot get rid of, like the State Bar of California.
But not a picture, not one picture.
There are pictures of me out there. I know that. But if anybody is interested, there are services that do delete me services. You provide them with your information, they will contact these data brokers and request on your behalf to be deleted from them so you don't have all those Google hits. And Google will also do it to an extent, and I'm happy to show anybody else how to do it.
Okay, one more question.
I have a question, please. I've been seeing a lot of advertisements for a company called LifeLock. Is that a legitimate thing?
It's a legitimate company. They're for a fee. They'll say that they'll lock down your credit. They'll maybe put something to protect the title to your house. It's a legitimate service. Is it foolproof? Probably not. But I don't think it's a scam in and of itself. Did you have something, Neil? No. Oh, okay. I thought you did. So one other thing I wanted to talk about. So many of the scams come through the email. You get emails all the time, and the reason we get them all the time is because they work. And so when you see one and you go, this is ridiculous, and you delete it, good for you. But if you ever find yourself in a position where you're thinking, is this legit? There's a very simple way to find out. Click on the incoming email and check out what URL it's coming from. If it purports to be from Target, it's going to be from target.com. If it doesn't, if it's someone's Gmail address, forget it. If it's someone's name that you don't recognize, forget it. And if it's not from the company, just delete it. I mean, there are times, I'll be honest, there are times I get an email that says, we're looking to hire counsel, we have a contract dispute, it's very important, can you get back to me? Well, this is my business, this is what I do. I'm so tempted to respond, and I have to catch myself and say, no, this is a scam. Because they're proposing things to us that we want. They're manipulating us with our own desires. And so there are certain things that you can do to protect yourself, and we've talked about a lot of them tonight, but I want to finish it with just some basic repetition of some concrete suggestions. Have a code word or a phrase for your family that only your family knows. It'll come in handy when you don't realize it. Your passwords, we didn't talk about this, but they need to be strong. I have a tendency to like a particular password, and then I'll do 100 different modifications of the same password because it's the only way I can remember it. I need to find another way to remember it, because if you use the same one over and over, it's going to be a problem. Safeguard your personal information. Don't let it be available. Don't be rushed. Don't let somebody make you rush into a decision. Verify everything. Verify the identity of who you're talking about. Let me hang up. Let me call you back. I want to verify that this is who it is. What's your number? What's your name at the company? Do you have an employee number that I can reference? And take notes when you talk to people on the phone.
Larry, when you talk about verification, somebody says they're the bank and there's a problem and they call you. Do you verify by Googling the bank? Not anymore. Scammers have figured out how to buy ad space and pretend to be that bank, and you'll go directly by calling. So what you do is you go to your statement, which may or may not be convenient. Have at least one statement printed out so that you have the phone number for that company handy, and you know you're calling a legitimate number.
One of my next suggestions was going to be use Google, but I'm going to be crossing that suggestion out. It's a good idea to freeze your credit, to monitor your financial statements. Maybe go paperless. We're getting a lot of offers not to have physical statements. That may be a good way to go. Screen all your phone calls. Shred your documents. Be wary of using public Wi-Fi because people can hack into your devices. Install security software on your computer, malware. Educate yourself. And stay on top of the things that are going on so that you can be aware. And finally, if it's too good to be true, it is too good to be true. Nothing exists in this world where you're going to get 1,000% return on your investment, where you're going to take this pill or this cream and suddenly you're going to be 30 years younger. It just doesn't work that way. We want to believe that. I know that's upsetting, Matt, but that is the reality. So thank you guys for coming tonight. Thank you to the panel for showing up. We appreciate your time. I hope it was helpful.